Christian Harris, linebacker from Alabama.
Yeah, Christian Harris. So Christian Harris, one of the great things, and it kind of, I hate to be a broken record here, but if you can see, I really feel like there was a trend with what Caserio was looking for, is he's looking for plug and play guys, right? So somebody that can come in who has the athleticism to be a starting linebacker. He does have some question marks. That's why he wasn't a first rounder. I think some of his open field tackling could be improved upon, read and react, things like that. But he has the athletic traits to be a solid player. And maybe in the right scheme, even be a star. So, but I think his floor is definitely a solid player, going to be plug and play. Again, another piece to the puzzle. Lovey loved the pick. So, that says a lot about the player. And I forget who said it earlier. I think it was, I don't know, it might've been UAD, but there's been a trend with these players that they're all good, solid people. There's not going to be any drama coming from this draft class, knock on wood. But yeah, I like the pick. I think he could be a good player. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Christian Harris, to me has the potential to be the Brian Urlacher, London Fletcher of Lovey's defense, which is why I think he was so high on the pick. And the fact that he fell to the third was surprising, which made Lovey kind of want to jump at getting Christian Harris, because I feel like the potential, the speed is there, the 4.44 40, him being athletic and him always being in the backfield at Alabama at the linebacker position. To me, he gives so many vibes of what Brian Urlacher did with the Chicago Bears, and what London Fletcher did with the Rams at the linebacker position, as far as being athletic and being able to move. I think he, to me, he gives the Texans what they don't have, which is an athletic, fluid, able to be coached into coverage linebacker. I think he wasn't great at that at Alabama, but I think that he eventually will, be coached up to do so. He has all the potential and all the athleticism needed to do that. So I don't think that'll be an issue. I just think he wasn't asked to do that at Alabama. But I think he will eventually be the starting ground, for me, a starting linebacker for the Texans for many years to come.
Yeah, I really like the pick, mainly because he played middle linebacker, but on this team right away, I think there's not much competition that's going to hold him from playing, that weak side linebacker immediately. If Christian Kirksey can kind of just go like, hey, you do this, like, there's not really anybody else on the football team that's as athletic as Harris, and who's going to produce like him straight away, right? And if your goal is to groom Harris into becoming your middle linebacker, Kirksey is a fantastic role model and a person who can absolutely help teach him and guide him into helping do that. And he's a selfless enough person to go, okay, is Harris better than me? Go ahead. Like, fuck it. He's playing ahead of me. You know what I'm saying? On these downs. One of the most intriguing things to me is, we've kind of talked about this on the pod a few times. Harris is like 2 inches taller and 20 pounds heavier than Petrie, and they like play almost identical. They play downhill. They keep their ears pinned back. They react to the ball. Super quick, super athletic, and they're like the same exact athletic profile, except there's like a 20-pound size difference. That's about it.
Yeah, I think it's a good pick simply because, he fits the profile well. Over this few months of just hearing how Lovie Smith is just so damn rigid and how he's unchanging and unwavering and outdated, it's made me go deeper and deeper into the scheme. And he not only fits one position, he fits two. I think he fits perfectly at will in the defense and might So like I feel like it's kind of to me. I mean, I hate to say shit like this, but barring injury, I feel like this is as much of a can't miss pick as there is, kind of. Because like if he isn't the Mike, he can play the wheel. And I mean, I think as the wheel position in these style of defenses is honestly damn near. And Nicolay almost moves over to the Mike. It's crazy because like a lot of people think Darius Leonard is a Mike, but he's a wheel. You know what I'm saying? So even, there's gonna always be a way to play him, you know what I mean? So, whether or not he can't get any bigger or whatever, he still will get his chances to play in the middle regardless. You know what I mean? So I think it's just a great pick, man.
Yeah. All in all, moving on from Christian Harris, we got the 4th round pick, which was Dameon Pierce, running back from Florida.
Yeah, so this is another polarizing pick that people were unhappy with in a lot of ways because they wanted a more explosive running back. That being Breece Hall was pretty much like the general consensus of what we wanted, but we got jumped by the Jets and we ended up getting Petrie. So whatever. Where do I start? So Pierce is 5'9", 220, as AD said, from Florida. His athletic profile, like he's for lack of better terms, like a bowling ball, shorter kind of running back, stockier type of running back. He's Lance Zierlein writes that he is he has a grown man physique, and apparently he's a workout warrior. If you look at him, he's built like a workout warrior. He has really, thick thighs, no homo. He has really big, hips, you know what I'm saying? No homo. That's what I mean, to make it, completely no homo, but what Chris Sims says is like Chris Harris says that he's an ass guy and Dameon Pierce has a lot of ass. Now, to me, I'm sorry, and this might get banned off YouTube, but that's just straight up gay. But moving forward, sorry. This is all right. Let's start with the knocks. He has is he a workhorse running back? Has he proven to be a workhorse running back? No. Does he have like crazy? I don't know, man. I've seen him. He doesn't really look slow on the field. I don't know if y'all feel like that. He has he's broken away on tape against SEC defenses. So, but yeah, he didn't time well, and I think, but there's running backs that happens too. I've seen Clyde Edwards-Helaire, be labeled slow, and then he ran the ball all over the Texans the first game and broke some. So I think speed might kind of be overrated or like having sub 4.4 speed might be kind of overrated from the running back position. Will he be able to, I kind of wonder, it's intriguing to me to how many carries he can actually hold, how many touches he can hold. Someone that comes to mind, not necessarily play style, but of the situation, is Alvin Kamara, someone that didn't get that many touches throughout their college career and didn't get that many touches or like had, was never a workhorse, even to this day, always shared backfield, and built his body up as he went to become the guy he is now. So yeah, I think that he's a guy that, he might have anywhere between probably like, I wouldn't expect him to go too much over 200 touches this year, but I could see that going up. And what else weaknesses? They talk about him not being patient. I feel like that's kind of nitpicking. What the fuck? Like, I think he could get skinny. He runs, he runs the power well. He runs off tackle well. He when the pulling guard comes, he gets really fucking small and can fit through real narrow spaces, make something out of nothing. I mean, and and I haven't even talked about him as a person. Very, very physical. He's what I think. When you think of like a football player, like I think this is a football player. He doesn't mind getting hit. He seems like someone that will, leave it all out on the field. So, while he might not be like, LaDainian Tomlinson, I think that, he's a guy that, you know, can be like can be good. I mean, I think he can catch the ball well. He showed that, he could do that. He showed that he's good in pass protection. I mean, I don't know that, like we say that the team is going to be constantly evolving. I think that they might end up drafting a running back higher in the 4th round, but that doesn't mean that he is not a good player. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't mean that he doesn't improve the running back room right now, which I think he does. So I think this is one of the picks that I think if you're expecting him to come in and just be like a 1,500-yard rusher initially, I feel like, you're just kind of missing the point of it. So that's what I think about him. I think he's good. I think he's going to be someone that, it's easy to cheer for,
Yeah, Dameon Pierce was my favorite running back in the whole draft. Like, y'all can ask my wife, or like she could probably attest to this. I'd be sitting in the fucking bed on my phone, just like watching Dameon Pierce videos. Like, God damn, we gotta draft this guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was Dameon Pierce for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, love this dude because it was such a limited workload, and they share the rocks between so many different running backs. You're only seeing a little bit of everything, but all of the little bits of everything you're seeing are really fucking good. Like, he's catching the ball really well. He has multiple like really good like medium to deep pass highlights where he's plucking the ball out of the air, right? And then like the thing he's the most known for was pass protection. His like biggest calling card, his biggest highlight prior to like anything was his pass protection rep against like a blitzing middle linebacker, right, from the Senior Bowl. So I mean, it's a very high floor pick, right? Very high floor pick, where at the very least he's going to see the field this season. And you have Marlon Mack, Dameon Pierce, Rex Burkhead. Those 3 are just going to keep turning it over, right?
Yeah, for me, Dameon Pierce is a tough ass runner. He runs hard as hell. He gives you that physicality that I feel like the Texans didn't have the last few years at the running back position. He gives you, like Leo said, he's easy to cheer for. He has that swag, he has that excitability about him that makes you want to, go for to be a fan of his. Now, do I see him as an every down back? No. Do I see him as a workhorse back? No. But I do see him as a committee back. I do see him as something that the Texans need. At the end of the day, he upgraded the position. But whatever we have, whatever we don't have, he's an upgrade, clear and far upgrade over anything we had on the roster. So I feel like Dameon Pierce is going to be productive. I feel like, especially if the offensive line gels, he's going to get his opportunities to kind of succeed and play well. I just don't want to overdo him or make my whole thing about anybody in the rookie class. I don't want them, the Texans, the organization, to play the player out of position or play them where they're not most successful at. So I feel like having them do things that they haven't done before, and expecting a high production out of it, I feel like is, to me, kind of asinine. I feel like you should, put the players in the right positions. And I feel like this coaching staff, now, if we were talking about previous regime with David Culley, then there would be a lot of questions. But I trust Lovie Smith and Pep Hamilton enough that they're going to place him in the correct positions, because I feel like if we had Tim Kelly and David Culley and on the offensive end, it'll be all kind of bullshit, going around. But I feel like Dameon Pierce is in a situation where he can succeed and he'll have more opportunity than he would anywhere else. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have much else to add. I agree with all your points. I think he's really good at everything. He's doesn't have the breakaway speed that a superstar would necessarily have, but that doesn't always necessarily lead to solid running back play anyways. He's the type of guy that's going to get you 4 yards of carry, and at least, and move the rock when you need to, and that's all you can really ask for out of a 4th round pick. That's a plus. So if he becomes more than that, then it's a home run. So it doesn't stop us from going out and getting other players. Definitely doesn't, but solid pick. Definitely, I thought he would go lower, to be honest, but I honestly thought he was going to be underdrafted, because I think he's probably picked about where he should have as far as talent, in my opinion. So I've been high on him since the beginning. I thought he was going to be one of the steals of the draft, because I saw him going in like the 5th or 6th round. But good pick. Yeah, I have no complaints.
All right, moving on to our 5th round pick, which was Tegan Quitoriano, tight end from Oregon State.
Yeah, so I picked Tegan because the whole idea of this episode was to kind of pick 2 players, one player on offense, one player on defense that you can showcase. Without giving too much away, Tegan was half of my picks for this episode of the podcast, mainly because I really love the tight end position. I've always liked it ever since we had Owen Daniels, like what was my first introduction to like almost like dominant level tight end play, right? And he was showcased in that offense with Gary Kubiak and Andre Johnson and Arian Foster even for a while. And it was just great to see him. And I've like really waited for us to kind of get back to that area of having established tight end play, right? So what you're getting with TQ is like what seems like the ideal size profile for what they're looking for in the tight end position. So without diving too much into just like a player breakdown, because we've already done that, what I like about this guy is he's 6'6", 260. He's big, right? He's big and athletic because he used to be a basketball player, right? He was a power forward, he was a center all throughout high school. And one of my favorite things when you look up TQ is he has this very popular interview from high school where in overtime in a basketball game, every single offensive possession in overtime ended in him scoring. And they interviewed him and they were just like, look, everyone trusted TQ to go make a play. Everyone looked at him to make a play. They just they knew that as soon as I could catch the ball, pass it to Quitoriano and like have him go to work. You know what I'm saying? I was like, damn, like, so he's got some dog in him. You know what I'm saying? Like he's got that clutch gene to him. His calling card is blocking, in one of his, I think it was literally, his combine interview, he was saying he likes to move people. That's his primary goal. He doesn't care about what the stat sheet says. He wants to be able to move people. He wants to be able to like physically beat whoever's across from him, right? Something I thought was really interesting too is he's only picked 20 draft selections away from let me see if I get this right. Yeah, 20 draft picks away from Brevin Jordan. And we really like Brevin Jordan. I mean, Brevin Jordan was running wide open last season, right? I mean, he had multiple touchdowns where you're just like, what in the hell? Like, where? Like, no one was watching Brevin Jordan, but no, I mean, Brevin Jordan's just a route technician. It's almost like you drafted Brevin Jordan as this like almost like flex slot receiving tight end last year, and now you go and draft the inline blocking tight end this year, and it's in the same area, same value type thing, right? Okay, so I think that's pretty cool. My personal player comparison for TQ is Joel Dreesen. Back when we had Owen Daniels as our, our flex, receiving tight end, could get open, could do a bunch of really cool shit, great pass catcher, pretty good run blocker. And then you had Joel Dreesen, who was your inline, like crash the edge. You could rely on him in pass protection. He was going to probably get 5 touchdowns a season or something like that and have like 400 yards, something ridiculous. But every single game, he's in there doing some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Right? If you were going to go watch a game to really get a good idea of who Tegan Quatoriano is, go watch Oregon State versus Oregon and watch Quatoriano defend Kayvon Thibodeau. Right? Go watch him in pass pro against Kayvon Thibodeau. Go watch him in run blocking situations against Kayvon Thibodeau. There's a play where Kayvon gets the initial punch on Quatoriano, and then Quatoriano stonewalls him and carries him 15 yards down the field. Right? And it looks designed. Like Quatoriano takes that step back like a left or right tackle does, right? Absorbs the blow, grabs KT and says, "All right, bitch, we're taking off." You know what I'm saying? Right? So it's pretty cool, man. I like the pick. I'm a bit higher on him because I'm optimistic. But I think eventually he can work out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of the pick, to be honest. But when he goes up against an absolute elite player like KT, I'm just throwing that out there, AD. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, it's not that I don't like him as a player, because I think Joel Dreesen, that's a really good player comp. When we're still, where was he drafted? 5th round, right? I would want to shoot for a player that I feel like has a little bit more upside. I think he's, again, another one of those pieces to the puzzle. I think Caserio's probably taking a more holistic approach to building the roster, where he's not looking for superstars at every corner. He's looking for role players that can play a role, that can fulfill that role and do their specific role at a high level, which is the Patriot way, if you will. And I think he fits that. And I think that's why, it seems like they were higher on him than the consensus and the experts and things like that. So I hope I'm wrong, and I probably will be, that he's going to become a solid player. I just don't see him becoming like the starter, but I don't think they drafted him to be that either. So, yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, for me, TQ got my vote of approval just based on the compare for Bam talking about KT. hashtag anybody with KT. So my vote of approval just on that. But at the end of the day, hey, I think he, it's a 5th round pick. If he turns out to be a starting tight end, and opposite of Brevin Jordan, and that's a great value pick. But at the end of the day, I mean, he's okay to be a rotational pick rotational player as well, coming off the bench. I mean, Joe Dreesen is the comparison that Bab gave, and it's an excellent comparison. Joe Dreesen didn't start at tight end for the Texans. Joe Dreesen came out the bench and played spot duty, and if Tegan can give you that, then that's all you can really ask for. Especially at a 5th round pick. When you get past the 4th round, 5th, 6th, and 7th round picks aren't expected to be primetime players. They're really more expected to be your depth pieces. And I think if Tegan can be a depth piece at tight end, situational player, then you got good value for him in the 5th round.
Yeah. I think too, listening to Steven, man, it also obviously I guess this is a completely different thing, but it still kind of puts you in the same position as like the Pierce pick does, right? Like, let's say we're in perfect position to get another tight end in the first 2 rounds next draft, like, at the end of the day, it doesn't stop you from doing that, you know what I mean? And then like we can run some really crazy, 3 tight end sets, and then goal line becomes better. And then, so yeah, I think it's if you see him being as your third tight end moving forward, you know what I'm saying, with potential to be a second, you know what I mean? Then I mean, you know, I think that's good, you know, because I mean, if you think about it like that, and then you know, moving forward, you have Collins and Mechie, and you know, you still have Cooks locked up for a little bit. Let's say you go out and get like, you know, a more high-end tight end in the next couple of years. You have that. You have like, you know, Reverend Jordan being like, you know, the 6 foot. You could really run like a lot of two tight end sets, and you could run, you know, a spread with two tight ends, and then you know, you could get really creative and fucking run all type of shit without changing personnel. So I didn't really think about that until that. So I mean, yeah, you know, if you even see him making a team, and you know what I'm saying, 3 years down the road, then you know that's a good pick, because I mean, shit, you can move on. I mean, how much money is Pharaoh Brown and All Clear making? I mean, you know what I'm saying, like if he could beat them out, then they just become even more expendable. You know what I'm saying, in the future.
Yeah. I've noticed with the Texans and tight ends, you know, tight ends and like cornerbacks, those are always positions that we seem to be drafting every year at some point in the draft. So, you know, I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to throw darts at the wall and see if one of them sticks, you know. And if it does, you know, tight end is one of those positions that your bang for your buck is like better than a lot of other positions, because they're not the most expensive position, but they can add a dimension to your offense that, you know, not a lot of other players can, because they impact the pass and the run game, you know. So, you know, I think I'm not a huge fan of us drafting a bunch of tight ends over the years and, you know, letting them just walk. But, you know, if one of them works out, and if, you know, if this guy ends up working out, you know, that's great. So we'll see. And if he ends up just being a quality starter or a quality depth piece, then that's good too. So, yeah.
Yeah. So shit, y'all want to get into Booker now?
Yeah, so the next player we have on the list is Thomas Booker, defensive tackle out of Stanford. To me, he's an immediate upgrade as far as depth, because behind Malik Collins and Roy Lopez, kind of lacking, you know, quality defensive line, defensive tackles. You look at, I think we have Ross Blacklock and pretty much nobody else behind them. And to me, I don't honestly not high on Ross Blacklock. I feel like Ross Blacklock is a camp casualty this year. But I think Thomas Booker immediately gives you that extra defensive tackle that you need, that can be a rotational piece behind Malik Collins and Roy Lopez. And eventually he has the athletic ability and the talent. I feel like it was overshadowed because of where he played. I think if he would have played in a more primetime school, he would have gotten a little bit more shine, a little bit more attention. But I think his athleticness, athleticism, and his you know, size and speed and profile, I think that he can potentially be a steal in his draft class, and then eventually being a rotational to starter player at the defensive tackle spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's promising, and he's like really smart, and everyone says he's like the smartest person probably in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? Like the dude's like fluent in Chinese. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So yeah, it's and then I think if you look up any interview of him, he's like very clearly the smartest person in the room. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of freaky. And then I feel like you could like have, if you needed to sell something to someone, you would just have Thomas Booker be the face of it and like speak you through it. You know what I'm saying? Like he looks like the ultimate salesman. You know what I'm saying? Whether that like translates to like skill in the field, I don't know. But yeah, my favorite like highlight of Thomas Booker isn't even like a play of him like making a play on the football field. It's like he has made a sack and he gets up, and his celebration is he takes like 2 steps and jumps, and he's flying through the air for like 8 yards. And I was just like, that was like the most random like show of athleticism I've ever seen. You know what I'm saying? Like, I forget which team it's against, but I'm sure you can find it like in a highlight somewhere. He gets a sack, stands up to celebrate, takes 2 steps and jumps, and it's like he's like Michael Jordan-esque dunking from the free throw line type. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's insane. Anyways, I like the pick.
Didn't somebody compare him to Cam Jordan, like body type wise? I thought I saw that online.
Yeah, low key. I mean, that's kind of similar. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe his ceiling is not that, but I mean, that's a. I mean, if he can get close to that, where he was drafted, that'd be great. But it's probably going to be a good rotational piece. I feel like the Texans are going to do a lot of rotation on the D line. Not going to have necessarily a set. They'll have their starters, but it's going to be a lot of rotating. Yeah, I think he was a good pick. I agree with everything you guys have said so far. Don't have much else to add to it.
I
Solid
think
pick.
I think the interesting thing about him is that he has such athleticism. You know what I mean? He's and he lost weight. I think he's like right around 300 pounds now, 6'4". Like you said, Cam Jordan is around that same size too. When you look at him, they kind of look. I mean, Cam Jordan, they list him, I think, around 290 now. I wonder if he's pushing 300 pounds because he definitely. When you say that, I definitely can see that they do look alike. You know what I mean? But moving forward, like you have a guy that probably is our most athletic defensive lineman right now, at the 3 tech spot. And then I remember I asked this question in the space, like, or it might have been on here, how many defensive linemen, have hit that late. And I mean, since then I've gone and found a few, in the 4th round and beyond. You have Grady Jarrett, you have Geno Atkins, David Onyemata, and I feel like there's someone else I'm forgetting. But I mean, I
Pretty
think
sure there's a Hall of Famer that was drafted like in the 6th round,
yeah,
or maybe even undrafted.
I know John Randall was undrafted. You know what I mean? John Randall was undrafted. So is that who you're thinking about? Maybe. It's a lot of motherfuckers.
Yeah, I think it was John Randall.
John Randall. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that he has elite. He has, I mean, if his tape matched, I mean, hell, he's almost in the same tier of athlete as like a Devontae Wyatt. You know what I mean? He's in the same, like he has 1st round athleticism. You know what I mean? So like I think that he doesn't have 1st round tape. He doesn't, I mean, but I mean, that's why, you take him in the 5th round, hopefully he pans out like some of the other people we named. So, I think it's at this point we're just swinging. I mean, maybe he just turns into just a rotational piece, and that's fine too. So yeah. I think Austin Deculus is next, huh?
Yeah, we got Austin Deculus next with our 6th round pick, offensive tackle from LSU.
Mm-hmm.
4-year starter. I think, was he there more than 4 years? He was the longest tenured LSU player. He had played the most games for LSU. To me, he's one of those super senior guys, one of those consistent guys. He played on a national championship team, was a starter on a national championship team. So he has experience. He's seen just about everything, especially playing in the SEC. So you see that that he could potentially be another depth piece on the offensive line. Me personally, I don't see him as a future starter or anything like that. I think he projects to be a guard, not a tackle. May play tackle, but I think he projects more as a guard. But at the end of the day, he is a depth piece. Do I think he makes the 53? Yeah. I think he may be more of a practice squad guy off the top. Then eventually he may make the roster later on in the season or whatever. But I do see him as a depth piece, and he's pretty good. Pretty good, especially for what you would ask from him. I think he can provide pretty much that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's another thing, man. It's interesting to think about just the championship pedigree that we have drafted in this draft. I mean, if nothing else, we drafted a lot of people who don't. I mean, who don't know what it's like to really like lose, you know what I mean, from the beginning to or win, know what it's like to be on an elite team. We got, I mean, shit out of like, I mean, I think Petrie and them, they won a Big 12 championship. You got I mean, Stingley, Deculus, national champions, Mechie, Harris, national champions. And then I mean Pierce and Kenyon Green from the SEC, who they see pro talent every day. I mean, every week. So I think that's pretty interesting. I mean, so at very least, I mean, if that doesn't, I mean, it might not mean anything. He might not make the 53-man roster, but it's interesting that they went about that. What I mean? So I think it's a good pick. I mean, I can see. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up making the damn team also.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, so he was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school. He was recruited by a bunch of really good teams. 4-year starter or 5-year starter. I don't know. He played a lot of football.
I think he was a 5-year. I think he was a 4-year starter, but he was with the program 5 years.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I don't think his ceiling is very high, but I think that his floor is probably higher than people think. I think he'll probably make the team as a backup. He didn't give up any. He's pretty good pass protector. Didn't give up any sacks last year. Last year of college. So solid pick. I think that again, Caserio's looking for guys that can hopefully fill in the roster, and not necessarily. You're not going to get a superstar in the 7th round unless you're just lucky. Nobody does that on purpose. So, but or what round was he picked? 6th round, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't mind the pick. At that point, you're just looking for somebody that can potentially make the roster. Yeah, solid.
Mm-hmm.
So now we move on to our last player profile and the surprise undrafted free agent rookie that we drafted. I think to me, about the only one that'll probably make the roster out of all the undrafted free agents that we have, is Daniels, defensive tackle, Nebraska.
Okay, so so I came up with the idea to do this episode so that I could do this part of the episode right here. This is the whole reason I wanted to do this. This is my favorite rookie out of this entire class, right? And it's an undrafted free agent, right? Okay. I know it's ridiculous. I know. So Dameon Daniels out of Nebraska. Okay. So just a little for, not a lot of people are going to know much about him. But unless you went to Nebraska or unless you're a Nebraska fan, but Dameon Daniels is a true nose tackle, one technique. They list him at all kinds of different weights, right? So like the most reliable one I'm going to go off of is like what they list on the Nebraska or like the Huskers.com and ESPN, 335 pounds, right? Okay. 6'3", 335. Okay. So the biggest thing you're going to see straight away whenever you put on any Nebraska football defensive play is you will see the defensive line, and they're all about the same size. And then you see this big motherfucker in the middle, and that's Dameon Daniels, right? You will know when Dameon Daniels is on the field, and you don't even need to look at the numbers or anything. You will just know when he's there. He's the biggest guy on the defensive line, right? Okay, now I was making that observation, but then also I was like, okay, I need to watch when Dameon Daniels is off the field, right? Because nose tackles aren't going to be 20 sacks a year guys, and they're not gonna like kill it on tackles for losses or anything like that. Like they're not gonna do anything sexy, right? When they took Dameon Daniels off the field, they were getting their teeth kicked in every single time. That defensive line looked useless when Dameon Daniels was off the field. two games that I can use for an absolute perfect reference of this. The number one game I want you guys to check out was when they played Oklahoma. Watch Nebraska's D line against Oklahoma's offensive line. There's some good like NFL offensive line prospects on that Oklahoma offensive line, right? And I'm telling you, when Daniels was asked to crash the center, he was pushing the center 10 yards up the field. If he was asked to rush the passer, he had an elite swim move, like elite, especially against them. One of my favorite tapes to watch of Dameon Daniels to show off some of his pass rush moves is against Michigan. He's got a great rip that he uses against their left guard, like play after play. Anyways, so he's more, it's so weird because he's this huge player, but he's a great penetrator. He goes straight through the offensive line. He does such a good job of swim moves right over any of the interior offensive linemen, center, guards, anything like that. When he's in on run plays, you have to double team him. If you're going to run zone against Daniels, he's simply just he's going to hold up whoever's on his side, the opposite side of the run. He's going to hold him up with one hand and watch the running back and make the tackle. Like, it's just going to happen every play, every single time. Okay. So yeah, he's my favorite player in this class. And I told you guys, like before we were recording, like before the show, that I had a player comparison, and it's BJ Raji. And because BJ Raji is 6'2", 337 pounds, and BJ Raji was a penetrator, right? But he was so big, when you asked him to just squat and sit there and put one hand on each interior offensive lineman, he could do it and let everybody else flow and make a play, right? We don't have another offensive lineman like Dameon Daniels. We don't. Everyone is around everyone's around that like 295 to 305, 310 range, right? Even Roy Lopez has lost weight, and he was really that one tech that we tried to use, right? If you look back last year, we were bringing in bigger guys like Joseph, right? And we brought in one other one, Joseph, and there was one other bigger dude. Both of them ended up.
Are you talking about last offseason?
Yeah.
It was Vincent Taylor and Johnson.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, Vincent Taylor. Yeah. And so we were looking for that type of defensive tackle, right? That 320 plus one technique, just plugging up a gap type defensive tackle. And I feel like because Dameon Daniels is like almost the complete opposite player profile as all these other three techniques that we have, he's got the best opportunity to make the team. And I think you're going to see a lot of Dameon Daniels affecting the pass rush game, where he's this safe player who can stop a quarterback run up the middle, but also rush the passer. It's like he's like Lamar Jackson's worst nightmare. You know what I'm saying? Where like he can penetrate, but then he can stop on a dime and wait for you to like make a move, Not the most athletic guy, runs a slow 40, really quick 10-yard split. He's just a mammoth. You know what I'm saying? And I love this dude to death. And I hope he makes the team. I'll probably follow him wherever he goes because he's like one of my favorite players. So to get a good idea of who he is, YouTube, Nebraska's defensive line versus Oklahoma's offensive line, and just watch number 93. You'll already know who it is because of how big he is. Pay attention to when they take him off the field and see what happens. They get torched every play he's off the field, whether it's running or passing. They get fucking torched. But when they're on the goal line and Dameon Daniels is in, they can't run that bitch up the middle at all. No matter where they're trying to run it, Dameon Daniels is crushing that play. It's so cool to watch.
Yeah, for me, I really do like the intrigue of Dameon Daniels. I think that he can, for damn sure, find a spot on this roster, especially being a true nose tackle that the Texans don't have. I know we like the idea of Roy Lopez and everything like that, but he's not a true nose. And I feel like Dameon Daniels brings that to the team. He's a space eater. He gives you what the team is lacking as far as defensive line depth and defensive line help. So I think as far as we talk about it all the time, them being one of the worst run defenses in the league, Dameon Daniels for damn sure helps that. He kind of, helps solidify as far as like kind of stop gapping, not allowing the teams to just abuse us on the inside.
Well, I mean, I'm excited. He's one of those guys that you really nobody pays attention to, but after hearing you guys talk about it, I mean, I'm gonna have to follow him now, see what happens.
Yeah, it's so funny looking at for example, like on ESPN, CBS, his player profile on CBS says his strengths: does a great job establishing leverage, does a good job of using his hands, he draws double teams, able to stack and shed blocks in the run game, good speed relative to his size. Weakness: lacks versatility to play multiple positions.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck? Where else do you want a nose tackle to play? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. So he was 2021. He was an honorable mention All Big Ten, but it's because he only played in 11 games. You know what I'm saying? So like he got injured. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like still an honorable mention. Like come on, it's totally wild. And he was also a team captain. So
nice.
Yeah, we definitely need it. I mean, definitely need someone in the middle, man, to just free up. The more people he the more one-on-ones everybody else gets. You can't, what I'm saying? When you have a true nose tackle, bro, you can't double team really almost anybody else, right? At one time, damn near, unless you have help from the tight ends, and then that just becomes weird, So
yeah, then it becomes almost a max protect situation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can
as long
as
he doesn't take playing time away from future Hall of Famer Roy Lopez, So
yeah, good luck.
Roy Lopez, that's my boy, man. Come on. Not a lot of Latino players in the NFL.
Yeah.
I gotta root him
Lopez
on.
is cold. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. All right, y'all.
So that kind of rounds out our player comparison for the rookie class right now. I think we pretty much covered all the draft picks plus an additional undrafted free agent. This is, to me, doing these player profiles and kind of going in depth with these players is exciting because you learn more and more when you start looking at the film, looking more into the deeper inside of the player. You kind of focus more, especially going into the draft, after the draft, when you actually are able to know that these guys are solidified on your team. You're able to look, play by play, what they do well, what they don't do well. So to me, whenever we do these player comparisons, that's always awesome. But I thank everybody for joining in today. This has been another episode of the Black On Podcast with your boy AD. You got Bab, you got Leo, and our special guest Steven. You guys come back and check us on our next episode. See you later.